Guys played really hard on Saturday night. It's fun when they play with that kind of enthusiasm and they embrace the environment on the road. I'm amazed how well these guys play on the road, and it's exciting to watch them. It was fun. Defense forcing turnovers just took Oklahoma State out of the game. And I was really proud of the offense. They're coming on and getting better each week. And I thought the plays right before the half were so key. They moved the ball in the first half, but Oklahoma State took it the length of the field and scored. The offense took it right back down and had a drive like we've seen Colt do so many times right before the half, and then coming back and getting the field goal to start the second half just took them out of the ball game. Earl Thomas is a guy that is playing as well as any defensive back in the country. You've got to think that the Thorpe people are starting to look at him, and I do feel like the way Colt's playing the last 2 weeks that he, with a stretch here at the end, is right back in the middle of the Heisman race. People have asked about numbers. Colt being 3 wins away from being the winningest quarterback in college football history is really special, and that's something that we hope he gets without question. The other thing about this team right now is they're playing well in all 3 phases. Very few teams do that. We're number 1 in the country in scoring differential, meaning obviously the defense is holding people to very few points, and the offense is the leading offense scoring points in the country, and our kicking game continues to be really good. I was so pleased with Paris Cox last night and his kickoff returns that our defense, our kicking game, held him inside the 20-yard line 16 times, and that's really, really hard to do. Also, Hunter Lawrence is stepping up and continues to be so accurate. He's leading the Big 12 in scoring, and he's also the leading kicker in scoring in the nation. We came out pretty healthy on Saturday. Aaron Williams will be day-to-day, so we hope that he will be back by Saturday. The guys that will be out by Saturday continue to be Mason Walters and Calvin Howell. And we can't talk any more about their injuries until we see that they would be ready to play. Some people have asked about whether they might try to get a medical hardship for the year or not. Obviously, that's something you can't consider until they get well, so we have to keep looking at it. Things that we can improve, we felt like the only turnover we had was the turnover on the punt return, and it's good to be aggressive, but we got to be smart and not be too aggressive in that area. Kickoff return, we only had 1 for the night, but it got out to about the 30. We'd like to get back to getting back to the 40 and have a chance to score on another kickoff return here by the end of the year. Punt was inconsistent. We had some great ones, but we also gave up a 15-yard punt return. And we felt like the pass rush in the first half was not what we wanted. They came back the second half and started getting hits on the quarterback and forced the interceptions more the second half than in the first, because even one time on a 3rd down and 8, 3rd and 12, Zach Robinson was able to scramble, make a first down, and that's because we didn't have proper lane integrity with our defense, and we need to continue to strip balls. We haven't done that much lately. Sam Acho did it on Saturday, and we've got to continue to force fumbles, not just try to get the interceptions. On offense, we felt like that they are getting better, but again, we want consistent runs. The goal is 60%. We were 58%. They were 60% by the ones over 3 quarters in their success rate with their consistency. But when the Storm, the second bunch, went in, they didn't do as well. Seniors, 2 home games left. These guys have won 21 out of the last 22 games. We want our fans to come early, and if they want the number 1 team in the country, we want them to be the number 1 fans in the country on Saturday, because it's really important. We got an early start. It's still got a lot of national attention. It's a game that's really, really important to us, and we need to play well in the game. It's also Veterans Day, and we need to come and give honor to those that have worked so hard to help our country stay free. You look at Central Florida, all we have to do is look back to 2007. They kicked an onside kick late in the game. We win 35-32. Their seniors were on that team as sophomores a couple of years ago. So they'll be coming in here with a lot of confidence because they know they played us that well at that time. George O'Leary is a great football coach. He's a guy that they'll slow the game down. They'll try to run the ball. They'll try to hit some deep play-action passes. They'll do a good job in the kicking game. They're number 9 against the run on defense in the country, and they're number 8 in the country with 27 sacks. So they're a bunch that's stopping the run and putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and they've lost 3 games, but Miami was a tight game till the fourth quarter. Miami ended up beating them 27-7. Their other 2 losses were by 7 points and 5 points, and last night they looked like they were out of the game, and they came back and won, and that's really the way George does it. They'll play a 4-man front on defense. They will only blitz about 16% of the time. They're not a big risk-taking team, but they're a team that you better get ready to play. Questions?
Coach, you have seasons within the season. Is this the last stretch? Is this starting? Are you starting like a new mini-season this week?
It is. We had basically the out-of-conference games. This would have been in that at the first of the year for the first 4 games of the season. Tech replaced Central Florida early. And then we came back with a stretch of Colorado, Oklahoma, Missouri, and at Oklahoma State this weekend. So 3 basic games on the road here. We want to come back and have a great start. The last 4 games are in the state of Texas, but we want to finish right. And this is the first game of the last stretch. And the guys have done everything they're supposed to do to this point. Now we got to finish.
Follow-up question. Have you ever been in this situation before? I think one time in North Carolina where you had a non-conference deep into your conference schedule.
Yeah, but not very much. It is unusual, and I'll talk to some guys around the country that have done it. I know Florida does it every year, it looks like. But again, I think you got to play. It doesn't matter. This is not about the Big 12 this week. It's not about the Big 12 South, but it is about national implications, and we're in the mix nationally, and if we want to stay there, you have to play good.
Coach, before the last 4-game stretch, you talked about making up for kind of what happened last year. Now you're through that 4-game stretch. You beat Oklahoma State. What's the theme for these last 4 games? What are you talking to the guys about in terms of finishing it?
Our theme now will be to play to the standard of the best team in the country. And that's who we want to be. We want to be the best in the country, and we can improve in so many areas, and we are good right now. But we can get better. And the other thing that we've challenged our guys is if you're going to be a great team that goes undefeated, you have to be a team that's excited to play every week. And that's hard to do. A lot of people can't do that. But that's part of the magic to having a great team. You have to be able to do that. You got to be able to get rid of Oklahoma State today, and you got to be able to get ready to start for Central Florida today. And if you can't do that, then you're not one of the best teams in the country. So that's our challenge to our fans and our coaches, to me, and to the players. Let's get rid of what we've done so far. Let's sincerely restart the season. Let's don't talk about it. Let's do it, and let's make this the most important game of the year because it is.
Leading the team in scoring, Mac, usually you think it's offense, but probably never a better example of a team leading the nation in scoring.
I think that's true, Roger. You look at we've scored 4 or 5 kicking game touchdowns. We've scored on defense, and we're getting much better on offense. So I do think that when you start looking at the team that's involved, this is the best time for us since I've been here, I think, with all 3 phases working together. And that's why offense had been a little behind. We want them to catch up, and I see that happening now. They were really good on 3rd downs the other day. They protected the ball. They didn't turn it over. Fewer penalties. Defense is playing at a real high level. Kicking game is playing at a high level. But we do want our kicking game to continue to get better as well. I know, I'm in trouble here. So it's, you want to ask at the same time? Is that? No. Good.
At the beginning of the season, you compared
Ladies.
the team to the 2005 team. Now that you've seen how they play, how they focus, is that comparison still true, or have you ever had a team like this?
When you look at, you're sitting here at 8-0, what you want is for them to finish right. And I don't think you can compare them to this point. And this team hasn't had but one close game. Really, the 2005 team had one close game, and that was at Ohio State. It was on the road. Other than that, we've been in pretty good shape every week. But the 2005 team finished well. You know, I was thinking about that team the other day when we were at Stillwater. That team was down 28-9 in Stillwater to a 4-7 team, and made it 28-12 at halftime, and came back and blew it open 47-28 the second half. But so far this team hasn't done that, and that's why this team has learned from some of the things over the last few years that we've had. We did not play well at Central Florida in 07. And it's important that we continue to play well. And the message from the players was that way last night when I asked them, who are we, where are we going, what are we doing, and each one of them said, we got to keep playing. You know, you look around every Saturday and there's somebody that's really disappointed that they decided it was going to be okay and they weren't going to have to play very hard, and all of a sudden they lose their dreams. And what we've got is a goal to win the Big 12 South, a goal to win the Big 12 championship, and a dream to win the national championship. But you got to take care of your goals before you can get to your dreams.
Coach, I know that you don't like to talk about style points, but at the same time, your defense is scoring points with some style. Can you just talk about what they've been able to do?
Yes, it's unusual to have a defense that scores like our defense is scoring. It's fun, it's exciting, and especially when you can get somebody one-dimensional. And when Oklahoma State got behind the other night, they had to start throwing it, and that's not who they are. They would rather run the ball and have play action. They're not a drop-back passing team. And the other thing that happens in this situation, your defensive backs get so much credit because we can play man coverage, and they should. But until the quarterback gets rattled and starts throwing balls that you can intercept, you have nothing. So much of this credit should be going to Lamar Houston and Ben Alexander and Keyston Randall and Sam Acho, and you start looking at Sergio for putting pressure on those quarterbacks, because we've had pressure each week on the quarterback, and that gives us a chance for interceptions. And we're getting quite a bit of pressure now without having to blitz very much, and I think that's a positive as well.
What do you think that says to the rest of the nation and your opponents when they have to be as concerned about not just the turnover, but the conversion of it as well?
We've sent a message right now to teams that we can score in all three phases, and that's something that I think would make people more conservative. What Central Florida will do is they will try to run the ball and hit some play-action passes like they did last night and try to throw it deep some, but they'll try to keep the ball, and that's what we knew Oklahoma State was going to try to do. We had only one drive the first quarter, so that's why turnovers are so key to us, and when our offense gets on the field, they need to score like they did the other night.
Coach, you've been talking about just enjoying the ride, everybody enjoying the ride. Do you feel like you guys are having fun and enjoying the ride?
I do. I thought after Oklahoma, our guys said, we're getting better here. We're pretty good, and now we need to continue to play good. But I just watching them over the last 2 weeks on the road, I think they've had a blast. They walked into Missouri and played really well, and they walked into Stillwater on Saturday night and played really well. They didn't look uptight to me. They looked excited. They're having fun with each other. That was the largest crowd in the history of Missouri football. It's the largest crowd in the history of Oklahoma State football, and I think they take it as a compliment and a challenge. They love that on the road, and I like that about them.
Is it an unusual situation to come through a game, get done, have your team meeting, then you go home on a Sunday night and watch the team live and you're going to play them?
It is unusual, and their stats weren't in today. We don't have their depth chart. We don't have a media guide, so it kind of slows things down for us this week. But we had a pretty good scouting report last night, and that's the way they went. They looked like they were in trouble, but they hang in there. They hang in there, and George has been around a long time. He was a defensive coordinator in the NFL at a lot of different places, and that's the way they're going to beat you. So you can't let them hang around.
Mack, you've had a lot of great defense for 12 years here, but Earl Thomas seems to be head and shoulders above the rest of them.
Earl is making a lot of plays, excuse me, and he's got tremendous instincts. We've seen him do it in our practices time and time again. But you have to remember, when you look at a system, again, without that pass rush, Earl wouldn't have the opportunities to make the plays he's making. And Earl's just such a great football player. He's tough, and he likes to play in those special teams. And he's a guy that we can't get off the field. I thought he'd sprained his ankle when he and Aaron Williams ran together, and he looked over, and we said, come on out. And he turned back. He wouldn't even look at us. And then we started to call timeout and didn't. But he just loves to play, but he's got tremendous instincts. And I do think he looks like a guy that can return punts, too. So next year he'll probably take Jordan's place as a punt returner, he and Curtis Brown.
In some ways, does he seem like he plays older than he really is?
He does. He did that from the day he's got here. He's very serious. He's very bright. It was funny, after we ate as a team last night, I'm walking out, and he's playing music on the piano. And he's really, really talented. He plays in his church every Sunday morning. So he's just a talented young man. You wouldn't think that either. And I said, can you sing? And he said, no, I play. So that's about all you get out of Earl.
Speaking of the position, was there pick sixes by those guys. You see Blake get an interception as well. Did they want it a little more because of that?
I don't know that if they wanted it anymore, but I told them that we can put that to rest now. That in fact, the kids were giving Blake a real hard time. He said, "You didn't even score on yours." The other two took them back for touchdowns. But I do think it was fitting that the three guys that were kind of fingered out last year at the end of the Tech game all made super plays on the road in a big game against a ranked team to help us win.
You said last week that after this game, if y'all win, you'd have to be telling their team they're not as good as we're all saying that they are. Do you see that happening already?
Well, we do not want to ever tell them they're not good. What we also want to do, so many people do not give opponents respect. And I think that's an awful thing about college football fans and media when they talk bad about another team. This team's 5-3. And what our team needs to do is a lot of what we do is based on respect. It's respect for your coaches, respect for your parents, respect for your teammates, and respect for your opponents. And in life, every business person today that's out there that is laughing at their opponent, their competition, is about to get beat. And we're not going to let it happen at all. So I've told them if that's what's out there, don't listen to it, because Central Florida's hearing it too, and they're going to come in here, this is the biggest game of their lives. They're going to come in here excited about 101,000. And we need our fans excited. And what we wanted is to have a chance to be in the mix at the top every year in the country. We've got that, and we're not going to let it slip.
Is there also a mindset, Mack? Fortunately for you, this program isn't on the other end where they can stroll into a stadium with nothing to lose. Central Florida can stroll in here with nothing to lose and say, let's see if we can rattle.
Absolutely nothing to lose. This isn't even a conference game for them. It's a game they're supposed to lose. For us, we lose so many things if we don't play well and if we don't win. So there's absolutely no doubt the pressure's on us and it's off them.
Aren't you glad you're not involved in the mess, the confusion that is the Big 12 North?
I'm glad I'm not involved with tiebreakers right now or BCS. We're just who we are. That's what I tried really hard to understand it all last year, and I came out more confused than I went in. So as long as we can stay in the top three in the BCS, we're in good shape, and that's where we want to be. We're not worried about anything except us, and that was a big step Saturday. We went through everything yesterday with the team to show them exactly who we play the next 4 weeks, to show where they are, what it means, and I think they understood it. And then we said, now let's go back to work. But like I said, there were 5 or 6 players that I asked for opinions, and 5 or 6, starting with Sergio and Colt, stood up and raised their hand and said, this is exactly where it is. If we play well, we got a chance. If we don't play well, what those people are saying each week about our opponents and our chance to be here and be there goes down the drain. So one of the things you have to be a great team is mental discipline, and we're going to have that this week. But the guys are excited about being back home too. Shoot, they hadn't seen our stadium in forever. I walked in yesterday and said, wow, this is a pretty place. I'm glad we're back. Thank you, folks. Have a good week.